Hey, everyone out there watching. Thanks for tuning in another episode of Star Wars Fan Chat, where basically I just have a casual chat with different Star Wars fans from all over the place. It's just a way to sort of showcase that, you know, there are different people out there that all sort of connected together via Star Wars. And yeah, it's had some great chats so far. Today I'll be talking to Mr. Tim HAYES, a very active member of the YouTube community, always very friendly, always popping up in the comments and doing his own thing as well. So we were meant to do this a few weeks ago, but unfortunately at the time I felt ill, so it'll be really good it's been nice to reschedule and get this back on track. For those out there, it is 9 a.m. on Sunday. Tim's coming from Modesto, California, the home of George Lucas. So let's bring him on.
Hello, Jesse.
Tim, good to speak to you again. It's yeah, I'm glad we were able to reschedule and get this thing happening.
Mm-hmm. So is it nighttime for you right now?
Nah, morning.
Okay, because it's afternoon here and it's cloudy out and it's been raining.
Oh no, lovely.
Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, Sunday morning here, and it's looking like it's going to be a nice sunny one for us here. So
that's good.
We're coming to the end of our summer at the moment. So,
well, isn't it always summer in Australia?
I wish. I wish. We do get nice fresh winters down here, particularly down here in Adelaide. But down in the south end, it does get quite cold, but not enough for snow.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't know if you want to sort of mention where people can find you online and they can follow you and what you do.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube as just Tim HAYES, where I usually just do video. Wasn't really doing much with my YouTube channel, but then I just started covering all my physical media, my DVDs and Blu-rays, just showing those off.
Yep.
But then it was 3 or 4 years ago, I got back into collecting Star Wars toys, something I didn't think was going to ever happen with me. Is I had done it when I was like 5 and 6 years old.
Yep.
And then it got to the point where you couldn't buy Star Wars toys brand new anymore. Kenner had stopped making the toys.
And it wasn't sort of the mid 80s.
Yeah, it was 1986, I think they completely stopped production. They said, okay, there's no more movies right now. No more toys. So they stopped production altogether. And then it wasn't till 94, 95, Hasbro had bought out Kenner after they bought out all their other competitors. And then I found out they were doing Star Wars toys again. And then there was this special edition trilogy versions of the trilogy, so they started making toys for that, and then the prequels.
Yeah, and you know, it's hard to believe that, you know, that's sort of 30 years ago, almost. Like I was, yeah.
Were you just a kid, or were you a baby?
I was born in 87.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so my first exposure was to the original trilogy, like sort of taped off of the TV back when you could record on videotapes. And there's a lot of younger people there that wouldn't know what that is. And then yeah, sort of going up through my sort of pre-teen and teenage years with the prequel trilogy. So I don't know. I kind of feel like I had the best of both worlds. I don't know if I got to see all the original trilogy when they came out as the special editions, because they released them in like January, February, March of 97. It was like one film a month for the start of that year.
I was like 19, I think. I was going to be turning 20 when the special editions came out.
Yep.
But I didn't go to see them in theaters, and then one of my brothers got the VHS tape release of the special edition version of the first Star Wars movie.
Yeah. I guess this is probably a good segue to lead into the first question, because I do have my list of questions here, and You got to have a look through them a little while ago when I sent them through. So
Yeah, it was a long time ago though. It was like a
yeah,
month ago.
yeah, it was. So we'll kick off with what are your first memories of Star Wars? I think you sort of started touching on that, so I think that's probably a nice one to kick off with.
It was the toys, since I'm the youngest of 6 children. My sister's My sister's the oldest, and then I have another brother that was born 2 years after her, and then another brother 2 years after him. It seemed like my mom was having a baby like every 2 years.
Yeah.
Then she miscarries and has a stillborn baby in 1974. A year later, my brother James is born in 75, and then 2 years later, I'm born in 77, and just right after Star Wars comes out to theaters.
Yeah.
It seemed like most of my older brothers, I'm the youngest brother of 5 brothers, it seemed like they had all the toys. They had almost all the toys. I mean, my oldest brother, I remember he had the trading cards for the original Star Wars, and I think he had that Escape from the Death Star board game.
Oh, yeah.
He had the original, and I think he might have had a jigsaw puzzle as well related to the original Star Wars movie, but I don't think he had any of the action figures. But then it was the next 2 of my brothers they seemed to have some of the action figures, and then I remember some of them had the 12-inch ones.
Yeah, nice. Awesome.
My brother Jerry, he had a 12-inch Stormtrooper, a 12-inch. Well, he got the 12-inch Boba Fett. That was one of the Empire Strikes Back figures he got, and he got most of those of the bounty hunters that were in Empire Strikes Back, but he never got Forlom or Zuckuss. He got Dengar, and he got, is it IG-88 or IG-11 was in Empire? Because I know there was
88.
one. Because I know there was one in the Mandalorian. I get the 2 mixed up because they look.
I do too. Even I do too these days. Like we've got a statue of one of them in the shop where I work, and because he's not. Yeah, you're so used to 88, 11. I sometimes mix up with which one's which these days too.
Yeah, and I remember, I don't know which of my brothers had like the Luke Skywalker 12-inch doll, but he was like half naked by the time I discovered the toys. They lost his shirt. He had his pants and he had his boots, but his shirt somehow got lost.
It's funny, like you do come across them sometimes at like car boot sales and garage sales and stuff like that, and you find like a Han Solo and he's got no clothes. It's like, what happened? Why was the fascination with undressing things?
Yeah. Well, my brother Jerry, he had the 12-inch Han and Chewbacca, and then he had Boba Fett 12-inch, and then he had the Stormtrooper, and he didn't have Darth Vader, but one of his buddies had a 12-inch Darth Vader.
Yeah. So did you get, sort of being younger when Star Wars came out? Obviously, you were born in 77. Did you sort of get a lot of the sort of hand-me-down toys from when your brothers got a little bit older, or did you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
In fact, my first Darth Vader was a hand-me-down that was missing the lightsaber, and his cape, it was just a vinyl cape, so it was long gone.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I ever got a replacement lightsaber for him, but I remember it was like the only Darth Vader figure I ever had. So I remember his arm breaking off and his head breaking off. We tried super gluing. I think we tried super gluing the head and the arm back on. Somehow they broke off again. We had to throw them in the trash. Then for probably the longest time, I didn't have a Darth Vader figure until I'm an adult.
Yeah. That's sort of where it all came back for a lot of people, I guess. particularly like yourself, who went through the quote unquote dark times where there were no Star Wars toys, and then you get bit by the nostalgia bug coming into the 90s. And
yeah, it was in 87, I think, was like the 10th anniversary. I think maybe it was Dark Horse Comics was starting to come out with the Dark Empire, either in the late 80s, early 90s.
yeah,
Which was a comic book that when I told my brothers about that, one of my brothers was upset because it has Luke going to the dark side.
yeah.
And then it turns out that the Emperor survived as a clone.
I recently, within the last couple of years, I did get the 6-issue run of Dark Empire, the first Dark Empire, because I think they went on to do Dark Empire 2.
Yeah, there was.
I'm not familiar with that story, but I read the first 6 issues with that, and that, yeah, it's a different kind of story. It's there's a lot of cool stuff in it. Luke willingly going over to the dark side is something that didn't really gel well.
Yeah, it didn't. And with the original Marvel comics, it was interesting after seeing Return of the Jedi so many times on TV. Then I find out in the Marvel comics that take place right after Jedi, it turns out that Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc pit because he was wearing his suit. It spit him out.
Yeah.
So there was a post-Jedi Marvel comic where it has Leia and Han going back to Tatooine to try to get his money out of the bank, but I think his assets are all frozen.
Yeah. Some weird stuff in those old comics.
And then they find Boba Fett, who has amnesia, and then he remembers Han Solo. And I think maybe it ends up with Boba Fett just, I don't know if he gets eaten again by the Sarlacc or what happens, but I remember because Leia had killed Jabba, there was a bunch of Jawas took over kind of Jabba's empire, so they were just controlling a bunch of the criminal empire.
Yeah,
on Tatooine.
I just got a couple of questions. Firstly, thanks to everyone for coming and hanging out in the chat tonight, / this morning, / this afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It is a bit of a strange time for YouTube activity. It's so I wasn't expecting too many people to come on the chat. So yeah, I appreciate you guys coming in, hanging out. You know, it's a weird time. It's sort of Saturday afternoon over there and Sunday morning here.
Whether it's Saturday or Sunday, it seems like everybody is live streaming on YouTube on the weekends.
Yeah, it is the best time for a lot of people. So it's
and
good.
Then it's President's Day weekend here, so it's a holiday.
Okay.
It's a 3-day holiday weekend here, so I don't know if that'll cause more people to be online or not.
Possibly. I just got a question here from Mark Host G. What's the next live action Star Wars show coming out? It seems at the moment, and I know Ian's dropped an answer here for me.
Yeah, I thought the Acolyte was the next one coming out.
It sounds like it's going to be the Acolyte, I think. There's sort of conflicting reports and there's nothing really confirmed. And but it sounds like Skeleton Crew is going to come out in this year's US summer, so within the middle of the year. Which would be winter here for us down here in Australia. So it looks like it could be only a few months away. They could look at once Bad Batch season 3 wraps up, they might start looking at pumping up the Acolyte and getting that ready to go. And I'd say Skeleton Crew probably later in the year, probably around Christmas. So we'll see. That gives them sort of ample time to market each series. So. Boba had a code name with something like Bantha Food.
Yeah, and I found out
what's going on, man.
I found out the Banthas were elephants in real life.
Yeah, there's some funny photos out there of them all dressed up in the fur, and you can see their trunks hanging out the bottom.
Yeah, I don't know how they managed to get those trunks hiding.
Yeah, I don't know. Movie magic.
Yeah, one of my brothers said, "Oh, those are really elephants." And I didn't believe him, but then I look online in recent years and I find photographs of the elephants with their trunks hanging out.
Eka says, "Did anyone assume Skeleton Crew was going to be about Thrawn's undead troopers?" I don't think so. Not for me, anyway.
Yeah, I keep thinking of Skeletor from He-Man every time I hear skeleton.
I always think of when someone says Skeleton Crew, I always think of like minimum staff, maximum work, somewhere where your workplace goes on Skeleton Crew, and it's like everyone else is going on holidays. You got the basic amount of people on, and just trying to get work done with minimal people. So we'll keep punching on with these questions if you're happy to, Tim.
Okay.
We'll go with. You seem like from where I gather, you're very rooted in the original trilogy, which makes sense. It's your era. What's your favorite Star Wars film?
Well, it seemed like when I was very little, like 5 or 6, it was the original Star Wars, but I hadn't seen it in a theater. I'd seen CBS, I think, was the first major network to premiere it, but then it kept coming on either the movie channel on premium cable or Cinemax. But back then, I didn't understand the whole widescreen, full screen thing. I didn't know it was like a widescreen movie, so I was just seeing it cropped for a 4:3 TV set. And now TV sets are widescreen, so now I've always been seeing Star Wars usually pretty much the way it was meant to be seen.
Yeah, and that wide aspect ratio. Did you get to see any of them in the theaters when you were a kid? Did you get to go see Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back?
Well, yeah. After I had seen Star Wars a number of times on premium cable and network TV, my parents took me to see Return of the Jedi when I was, I think, 6 years old.
Yep.
We saw it on a Saturday afternoon. There was a theater just down the street from us, which is now a grocery store.
Oh, okay.
And that was the same theater that later showed the special editions of Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, but then Return of the Jedi ended up getting the special edition, got released to a theater further down the road. But the original cut, the Jedi, my parents took me to see at movie theaters down the road from here.
That's cool.
And then Empire I saw on premium cable, so I saw them out of order. I saw Star Wars, then I saw Jedi, and then I saw Empire. And then it seemed like it was an eternity before Jedi finally gets home video release and gets shown on cable.
Yeah. Yeah, there was never you take for granted these days the way movies come out so quick. Like there's only a matter of sometimes weeks after the cinematic release that they come out on streaming or home video and on Blu-ray and stuff like that, which, I feel like home media, physical media is almost going to be a dying art these days. It's a grab them while you can, folks. But
well, I think it's just gone back to the collector. It's going back to the collector where you pretty much have to buy it mail order or just go on the internet and buy it directly from a company.
Yeah. Well, here in Australia, Disney don't distribute any physical media anymore, so we can't get any Marvel, any Star Wars that are going to come out in the future. Nothing's coming out. So like the recent Mandalorian Blu-rays, steelbooks, they're not available here. We can't get them. We have to get them from overseas via Amazon. And even then, they're some of them are going to be region locked, so we can't watch them on our players. So it's
you have to get a region free player.
Yeah, and that's just it ends up being a bit of a bummer. But I've always loved having the physical copies. I've still got DVDs. I've got VHS tapes. I've got my Blu-rays, 4Ks. I try and get as much as I can, and there's a lot of sets out there now that I'd like to get before they vanish off shelves. But it is what it is. So it's the way of the world. Hey, Caleb, what's going on?
So is he one of your regulars?
Yeah. Caleb comes and hangs out quite often. It's always good to see. Like, that's the thing doing these live streams at different times, is there's different people from different corners of the world coming and jumping on, which is awesome. Next question is, do you have a favorite Star Wars character?
Probably Luke.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if many people would argue with that. I think that sort of goes for a lot of people. It's definitely the hero of the original trilogy, and I think it probably fits into most people's favorites. I'd say on average.
Yeah, it seems like with the first movie, it focused a little bit more on Leia, and then Empire, it started to focus a little bit more on Luke, and then by Jedi, it pretty much focused mainly on Luke.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Do you have a favorite background character or alien?
Let's see. I got one of them right here, which Digger and Dan's one I like.
Nice. Love the Biff. Yeah, that's a cool alien.
And then Jabba the Hutt's a really interesting character.
Jabba, yeah. I've got a question here for you from Eka in the comments here. What did you think of Luke in the sequel trilogy, Tim?
I just could not watch that. I just heard too many bad things about that to where I just could not watch. I just could not see those films. I mean, one time my mom was babysitting one of my nephews, and they had one of the. I think they had The Force Awakens on for a little while on basic cable, but I didn't really pay too close attention. It's just something. I saw photographs. I didn't mind that Luke was older, but then I hear Han Solo gets killed off, and then I hear Luke gets killed off, and even though Carrie Fisher really did die, I don't think they really got to finish filming her getting killed off. I think they only got like halfway through filming with her, and they just have her floating through space. So I just couldn't.
Yeah, with the ninth one, they were able to get Leia's. Because by the time they went to shoot episode 9, Carrie Fisher had passed. So they had a lot of cut footage from. I think mostly they used Force Awakens. There may have been some from Last Jedi, but from Force Awakens there was a lot of used footage with different alternate dialogue that she had in those scenes, and they were able to. It was quite clever the way they did it, and it was a nice way to pay tribute to Carrie Fisher, rather than recast, I think. But you certainly didn't take the main seat that Han took in Force Awakens and Luke took in Last Jedi. They were able to incorporate that dialogue and intersplice it with newly filmed scenes with the new characters. And yeah, so it was. I think it worked reasonably well for what they did. Like I said, they, if Carrie was still around for the filming, I feel like her role would have been far bigger.
Well, they did
But
film some like flashback footage where it had Billy Lord, Carrie Fisher's daughter, playing Leia in an Endor flashback sequence.
yeah,
I'd heard
that
about
that
that,
was really well done.
but I think they
Oh,
started. I think they started filming that when Carrie Fisher was still alive, and then they finished that footage. I think after she died.
yeah, possibly. Not sure. Yeah, there's still a lot of I'm looking forward to the day where we get a little bit more insight to the behind the scenes through some books. You know, the both the original trilogy more so has been very well documented over the years with the making of books and recently the archive books. The prequel trilogy very well documented through documentaries. When those films were released, they almost had a filming documentary team at all times in the behind the scenes and stuff like that when they were making those films. So it's sort of looking forward to the day where we get a little bit more insight to the making of 789. Just as I don't know, I feel like it would give a little bit extra, maybe a little bit extra clarity to what was going on behind the scenes. I don't know. We'll see in the future, I'm sure. I don't think it's something that's going to be, covered up or anything. It's just there's going to be a time and place for that sort of stuff to come out. So we've got a couple more questions here that are like favorites. Do you have a favorite droid?
Don't know. It's between C-3PO and R2-D2.
Yeah. We can cheat and we can go with both of them.
Yeah.
They're the classics.
Yeah.
Yeah. They always love 3PO and R2. They're just as iconic. JCC says the fact the Force Awakens turned 10 next year makes me feel old. Telling me, dude, telling me. It's outrageous. Revenge of the Sith's going to be 20.
And I think the Phantom Menace is 25 years old this year.
It is, yeah. Which that's scary. G-Force is here. What's going on, man? Glad to see you.
Hello, G-Force Racing.
Do you also have a favorite planet?
Let's see. You never see Alderaan in the original trilogy because it gets just.
Yeah, except when it's being blown to pieces.
Yeah, that's it. You don't really get to see it. I think you get to see at the end of Revenge of the Sith, you get to see the Organas with the baby Leia.
Yeah.
At the end of Revenge of the Sith, and that's about it.
You get to see it in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series as well. You get to see quite a lot of it. It's a really nice looking planet, actually.
Phantom Menace was there was quarter of a century.
Don't say it like that, man. That's quarter of it.
I was like 22, I think, when that came out.
Yeah. The Star Wars is going to be, the original Star Wars is going to be like 3 years. 3 years, it's going to be half a century old. You get to see pieces of Alderaan.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of pieces.
Yeah, I remember Han Solo is supposed, the Millennium Falcons is supposed to be approaching Alderaan, and they get caught in what they think is a meteor shower. It turns out it's just pieces of Alderaan.
Chunks of planet, yeah. Hey, Paul. Thanks for tuning in. So this is a new question I added into the last episode that I did. Favorite lightsaber and color, or if you could pick your own lightsaber, what color would it be?
Yeah, it's kind of hard because I'm not even sure what color was Darth Vader's lightsaber, because I thought it was purple Now I think it's red.
Yeah, it depends on the version of the film you watch. Like I think there's some scenes in Empire Strikes Back where it looks like a real sort of rich magenta, almost like it's almost whereas I think canonically it's red, like it's always red, but just the way they did the rotoscoping and stuff back in the days and the color overlay when they did all the effects, it's because I think it's the 2004 DVDs when Luke is on the Falcon and he's practicing with the remote and his lightsaber, it almost looks green. So I think that got color corrected come time for the Blu-rays. But yeah, it's always just depending on which sort of transfers and which copies you get to watch. Some of the colors are a little bit off sometimes. So I find the Blu-rays, when they did the Blu-rays, they were it's very saturated. So the colors were very, very strong in those releases. But yeah, it's funny because there are some scenes with Vader's lightsaber. It's almost got a pinky purpley hue to it. But yeah, I think it's red, like it's a red lightsaber. But
well, wasn't Darth Maul? Wasn't his lightsaber red?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like maybe it was the comic books, the Marvel Comics adaptation of the Star Wars trilogy. Darth Vader maybe had a purple lightsaber.
Yeah.
And I know Mace Windu in the prequels had a purple lightsaber.
Yeah. Because Samuel Jackson wanted to stand out when it came on DVD in the cinema. He wanted to be able to go, there's me in the background, I'm the only one with the purple. Which is just the most Samuel Jackson thing ever.
Yeah, I'd have to say green is probably my most favorite color, even though the only time you see the green lightsaber is in Jedi when Luke has one. And have you ever bought any Star Wars figures from Tungori?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought a couple. I got the Luke. That's the lightsaber construction Luke from the deleted scene.
That's a nice figure.
And then I got an Obi-Wan, but his hood, I think his cloak and his hood are a little bit too big.
Yeah, some of them are in those sort of not older figures, but yeah, they've never really nailed the cloaks back then. They're starting to get there with a few figures nowadays, but no, they're both really good figures though, the Luke and Ben.
And then Next 17 is a custom action figure Star Wars action figure maker in the Netherlands. He came out with the Death Star dual Obi-Wan, so I bought that one, and it has the hood. So
awesome! Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's really nice. But there's like a Kenner style.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, was Obi-Wan's lightsaber really supposed to be blue or was it yellow? I know I got the retro collection one, and on the packaging, like the original Kenner, it shows a yellow lightsaber.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. That was a Kenner thing, I think. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's blue in the movie, but with the card backs, I don't know whether there was limitations at that point on the color of the plastic they could use, because Luke came with a yellow lightsaber with the Star Wars figures, but then by the time Empire Strikes Back came out here, they were able to give him a blue blade, a blue sword.
And the funny thing, the 12-inch like doll size Luke came with a blue lightsaber. Well, the 3.75 inch, he had the yellow lightsaber.
Yeah, so I don't know. That'd be a good question for a Kenner aficionado, someone with a lot of knowledge of the sort of the Kenner and the way they did things. I've always just assumed that there was maybe a limitation on the color of plastic they were able to get at the time in the factory, so they just went with yellow, being that it's probably pretty close to like a bright color, like a white. almost for the blade. And then it wasn't until after they were able to get the correct colors for like Empire Strikes Back. So that'd be a good question. A good question for someone in the know. I'll keep that one in mind. Actually, next time I speak to someone who would know, I'll ask them.
Okay.
Ian says I'd go for a combo Luke Anakin original blue color, but Dooku's lightsaber hilt. That's cool. That's a nice. Yeah, I love that curved hilt.
And I remember seeing the original, trailer for Return of the Jedi when it was still called Revenge of the Jedi. Luke's lightsaber is blue in that trailer.
Yeah, because I think the reason they changed that is because during the Battle of Carkoon of the sail barge, to have a blue lightsaber against the blue sky, I don't think it stood out enough. So I think they made a bit of a creative decision to say that Luke had created a new lightsaber. It was green. So I think they changed the color just for the way it looked again on the backdrop of the blue sky, I think, if memory serves me correctly. I'm sure there's some people in the chat that know whether that's true or not. That's just something I've heard. JC said, I think Next 17, Stan Solo, etc. are doing some awesome stuff. I'm pretty hyped for the prequel figures in vintage Kenner style. As a Cincinnati baby, I love seeing Kenner love. Yeah, those Phantom Menace ones look sick. The ones that are coming out.
Yeah, Hasbro's doing Phantom Menace retro figures.
Yeah. I keep telling myself I'm not getting retro stuff, and then I end up getting them. They're just too cool. Like, I haven't picked up any of the latest. So they've done Book of Boba Fett wave recently and a Mando season 2. No, they've done the Ahsoka series. And I haven't picked any of those up yet, but if they start going on discount, I'll pick them up because I don't really want to pay $25 each.
Yeah, and I started watching your collection tour video the other day. I didn't get all the way through it, but I think you were showing somewhere at the start of it. You were, maybe that wasn't you. Maybe I'm thinking it was only when Kenobi. Maybe he was the one that was showing his Ahsoka action figures in one
Possibly.
of his videos. Somebody was showing them in a recent video I was watching. I remember seeing this really cartoon-looking Ahsoka figure.
Oh, okay.
I guess it was from that Clone Wars movie.
Oh no, I reckon it might have been only one Kenobi. He got a bigger package from I think he actually got some Tunghori figures, and one of them was the Ahsoka. Yeah.
He got me all excited to want to go back to that site just to get another Darth Vader, but I have so many Darth Vaders now as an adult. Whereas when I was a kid, I just had the one.
Yeah, you're making up for it now.
And I'm getting so many Boba Fett's now, and then I have the retro collection Mandalorian, so I'm a little bit burnt out on Boba Fett.
Yeah, it'd be cool to get something different, like, you know, when Phantom Menace stuff comes out, getting the Darth Maul in retro. I think that'll look really, really cool.
Yeah, I never had any of the prequel action figures. I thought the movies were decent, but the toys at the time just did not interest me.
Yeah, it didn't catch you?
Yeah. I liked the movies all right, even though they weren't as good as I thought they would be, but the toys just didn't do anything for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's see. Ian says, yeah, I would say two of the best retro collection figures would be the Death Troopers and the Vader from Kenobi, which looks like it could have been released in Return of the Jedi era. Definitely. Yeah, that was a nice...
Yeah, I've got that retro collection Vader and Obi-Wan from the Obi-Wan series. Those are probably the only two, I think, in the retro collection where they give you cloth goods.
Yeah, which was a nice. That would have, if they had Kenner continued on, they kind of they'd started by Return to the Jedi. They'd started using the sort of the cloth goods.
Yeah,
So
and
to have the Vader.
Yeah, this is Stan Solo's custom of the removable
Nice.
helmet Vader, and he's got a cloth cape, and then the skirt on the back is cloth. So this is kind of a
nice.
heavy action figure. He's got the red lightsaber, but yeah,
And the
the
helmet,
comes
beautiful.
off.
I've never looked. I've seen Stan Solo stuff, but I've never got anything. But I don't know. That looks nice.
Yeah, well, first he was mainly just doing reproductions, and I got a few of the reproductions, but like the stormtroopers, so I could army build when he was still doing stormtroopers, and then I got the blue Snaggletooth, and then I got most of the reproductions of the last 17 Jedi figures he made, and then he makes a Slave Leia custom, so that I made sure to get in the Kenner style, since Hasbro never gave us a Kenner style Slave Leia.
Yeah, I might have to have a look at Stan Solo and maybe end up throwing some money out there.
Yeah, and he's making the Tonica sisters now. Customs the Tonica sisters in Kenner style. So that's those I put it in a pre-order for, but yeah, the last two I got was a Dagobah training Luke gun just fell out.
Very nice.
And then just the removable helmet Vader from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, they're nice, man. They're very nice.
They can cross their sabers.
Yeah, reenact the duel in the cave.
Yeah, and that was probably the first and only movie where you see Vader's head getting chopped off, but it was just like a vision, and then Luke sees his face in the helmet.
Yeah, it's almost it was a bit of a, if I continue down this path, that's probably what I'll become. It was a bit of a revelation and a lesson for him.
Yeah, well, in Jedi, at the end, it seems like he's afraid he's going to become what his father is, since his father cut off his hand. He looks down at his hand, and then he looks back at his father, where he cut off his father's hand that was mechanical, but now his hand is mechanical.
Yeah, and that's when Luke decided to throw down the lightsaber and say, you know what, if I keep up this assault, this fueled by anger, it's not going to go a good way. So I think he realized that at the right moment.
Yep.
Fans Strike Back seem to be the only company that is not good from what I've seen and heard. Unfulfilled pre-orders and a Kenner-like Bantha that is resin molded.
Yeah.
Haven't heard of those.
That was somebody that took over Stan Solo's old company, Smith Lord Creations. That guy was a scammer. You do not want to deal with him. He scammed a bunch of people with that Bantha thing.
Yeah, that's not good. It says, wow, that Dagobah look looks great. It does. Yeah, hold it up again.
Yeah, he's got the sweaty hair.
Let's see if we can focus a little bit.
Yeah, that's how usual Mike usually holds up his figures, just behind the hand.
Yeah, tries to get the focus in the front.
And I've got an HD camera, but I don't know if you have anything on your StreamYard where you can get everything in HD.
No, not really. I guess.
When I use StreamYard, it just downgrades everything to 720p. It doesn't do it to 1080p.
Yeah, unless you pay for it, then you can upgrade it. But no, that's cool. Yeah, that was a good figure too. So we'll get back to a couple of the questions. What moment in Star Wars makes you happy? Like, what's a moment when you watch it makes you sort of smile and feel good?
Well, one moment that was really memorable for me from the original Star Wars movie, it came on numerous times on the movie channel back in the 80s. And even though this was seeing it in a pan and scan, this was long before the special edition re-edit. It was always fun getting to see the cantina scene, seeing all those different aliens.
Yeah, that's yeah. I always love the cantina. Like, just, you know, when you, especially when the movies came out on DVD and you were able to freeze frame it rather than, you know, trying to guess with the VHS tape and trying to pause it. You could really freeze frame it really nice and precise, and you could really just have a look around the cantina and get to see aliens that you'd never really paid too much attention to in the past. It's just such a cool moment. Like, but along with Jabba's palace, you know, it's you know, all the aliens and the scum and villainy, as it were. You know, it's such a cool period of the movies. Yeah, for Lax Sivrak. Yeah, Lax Sivrak.
That was the Wolfman, like the werewolf looking guy.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I've got the Next 17 made a custom of that figure. They made some
awesome, nice.
They made a bunch of Cantina human and alien figures.
Yeah, I know they cut him out of the movie and replaced him with Ketwal, but Lax Sivrak will be forever in my heart.
And then I thought there were two like Wolfman aliens in there.
Yeah, there was another one. I think he may have shown up in, I don't know whether it was a deleted scene or behind the scenes, or whether he was in the holiday special. I can't remember. But yeah, there was another slightly similar looking Wolfman, because I mean, some of the masks they used were from, you know, old horror movies that they found in studio wardrobes.
I think George Lucas just bought a bunch of cheap Halloween masks for some of those aliens. Like, one of them's like this E.T. looking alien with this big skinny head. You just see his head.
Yeah.
The head pops out.
Yeah. Jason says, I feel like there was one in the holiday special too, but shout out to Volviv Mon, Werewolf Jedi. Big time, man. He was Volviv. It's not an easy word to say. But it's almost like saying Wolfman. Volviv Mon. I don't know.
Yeah, well, then we have Efont Mon, which sounds like sounds like Elephant Man.
Yeah, that's true.
But he kind of has like a gator or crocodile sort of mouth snout.
Yeah, that's a really cool figure too. I don't know. Do you have the action figure of Efont Mon?
Yeah, I've got one right behind me on the shelf. But it's I think it's a Legacy Collection one, so it's hard to stand him up.
Yeah, it is a little bit. I always need to add a little bit of blue tack under the feet just to give it a little bit extra stability. But yeah, he was very front heavy, that figure. I could see mine. Yeah, mine's standing next to my Jabba's throne.
Yeah, I've got two Jabba thrones behind me. I've got that diorama, that paper stock diorama.
Yep. Which is still cool, and I still like that set.
Yeah, I bought it either eBay, I think, and then eBay had like a Jabba the Hutt lot, so I got a Jabba and a bid for tuna and a bunch of other aliens. And then I've got a classic Kenner Jabba up there.
Cool.
My other thing. And then I just have a bunch of different action figures over here.
Very nice.
I've got Tron from the Disney movie on the sail barge, and then Star Trek the Motion Picture Spock on there.
I remember a few years ago when I had my in one of my older rooms, my last house, I had my cantina, and I had a couple of Men in Black figures from Men in Black 3, I think. So I had a couple of Men in Black figures just sort of standing in the cantina.
So was it this cantina, the Navarro one?
No, it was the Power of the Force one. Like you've got the
Oh, so
like
was it something?
the cardboard one, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I never got that.
Which I still use now. Like that's still the cantina until Hasbro do a proper one. Like they've just done with the Jabba's Palace, which I regrettably did not pick up.
Yeah,
I'm hoping to get that. Yeah, it was for about 600 Australian dollars down here, which is probably close to about 400 to 450 US dollars. I don't know how much it retailed for in the US, but
were you ever able to get the Denizens 4-pack?
No, that one never came out down here.
Because I think there was one guy in Taiwan that was selling it.
Yeah, I did see that through. That might have been through AliExpress, I think. But I think they sold out, and that was still going for $180, which, you know, 180, 90, that's $45 a figure. That's still a lot. People that have imported them are listing them on eBay, and they're around $280 to $300 here in Australia.
Oh no!
So yeah, maybe I'm hoping one day maybe Tung Hori gets the figures loose, just the 3 that I really care about. Don't really need another re-ease, but the other 3, like, I really want them. I've got my barge set up and everything. Like,
yeah,
I really want those skiff guards and the squid head. But
yeah, and the barge, I love it, but it's just one of those. Even if you have the money for it, where would I put something that big?
It's a monster. It is a big beast of a set.
Was happy to find out that one of the original Kenner guys designed that. Was that one guy that died recently?
Oh yeah, Mark Boudreau. Yeah.
He had made all the mini rigs.
Yeah, he'd done a lot. I might have to have another look on AliExpress for that set and see if it's been put back up. But yeah, I do want to get it. But yeah, it's just no retailers here in Australia got them. Just because it was it a Hasbro Pulse? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was Hasbro Pulse.
Yeah, so hopefully I can track one down at some point. But yeah, Mike, it's going to cost a bit of an arm and a leg, but that's all right. It is what it is. Got to do it.
Save your money.
Yeah.
Just save up for it. That's all you can do if you want to.
Absolutely. Yeah, got to save the money. Do you have a favorite quote from Star Wars, Tim?
Don't know if I have a favorite quote, but I guess this could be a favorite quote. I've got a bad feeling about this, because that is one they say in just about every movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That's a good quote. I like that, because it does. It shows up in everything, and even in Ahsoka, there was a little bit of Jason Syndulla. He had a little bit of a. He didn't say the exact line. He said, "I got a bad feeling." He didn't say about this, but you know, just that little thing that they sort of sprinkle in, and it's you know, you see it in other movies pop up. It's a nice little nod to Star Wars, and that's a good fun one. Here's a good one. Favorite piece of Star Wars music?
Well, I kind of brought it up during your last one. We started bringing up the disco version of the Star Wars theme.
Yeah, that's right. I remember you saying that in the comments. Yeah.
But the cantina. Ooh, you got a message?
Yeah. It was just a phone vibrating.
Yeah, the cantina theme that Figure and Dan
Miko
and his band play, that But one I really enjoyed. You have to see the original cut of Return of the Jedi, Latinx.
Latinx. Cool.
And I remember from the behind the scenes making of special, they show a man singing that in actual English before translating it into Jabba's language.
All right. I don't know if I've seen that. I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's hard. I don't know if it's in Saga and from Star Wars to Jedi. It might be in that, and it might be and it might be in Classic Creatures: Return of the Jedi, which Carrie Fisher and Billy D. Williams hosted.
That's right. Yeah, it's been a long time since I watched that one. It's time for a rewatch, I think. It's JCC. He says he is semi-controversial opinion, but the prequels have the best music out of all the trilogies. I'd be inclined to agree there. I think
it's more classical music, I think, though.
Yeah, save for Attack of the Clones, because Attack of the Clones reused a lot of Phantom Menace because John didn't have the time to. He just didn't have the time with all these other projects that he was doing at the time. He didn't have the time to write a full film of new music. So some of those themes sort of towards the later side of the movie ended up getting carried forward. So there was the Trade Federation theme was used quite a lot towards the end of Attack of the Clones. We hear Across the Stars, yeah, big time. And interestingly, the Across the Stars is just the Star Wars theme in a different key.
Yeah. And then in the holiday special, near the end of it, Carrie Fisher is singing a song which is just the Star Wars theme with lyrics added to it, but I think it's slowed down quite a bit.
Yeah. If you listen to the Star Wars theme, which is, da 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 da, then Across the Stars is da 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 da, like, and it's those two sort of same themes, but they just sort of up and down. I don't know how to phrase that. I'm not a theoretical music know-how.
There was a Star Wars record album where it had songs like "What Do You Buy a Wookiee for Christmas?" and "R2D2, I Wish You a Merry Christmas."
Yeah, I have heard some of those. Yeah, what do you get a Wookiee for Christmas when he already has a comb? Jewel of the Fates, yeah. So next up, we've got a few collecting questions. You just sort of started touching on your collection a little bit. Do you have a favorite item in your collection?
Well, the Slave Leia figure, especially the Stan Solo custom, since that's the closest we've gotten to a classic Kenner style figure.
Yeah, so that would have been.
That's always been a holy grail item for me, to get a Kenner style Slave Leia figure.
Yeah. Do you have that on hand? Do you have that close by?
I've got one of them chained. I've got two of them. I've got one chained up to Jabba. But I've got one on my skiff.
Oh,
shoot.
Check out some of these comments, though.
Yeah, this is the one I put on my skiff.
Yeah, very nice.
So she's got the cloth goods skirt.
Yep. Yeah, that's very nice. Oh, they've done some fantastic work.
And then I've got the more modern Hasbro Kenner collection one.
Yep. No, that's really cool.
This was the next best thing to ever getting a Kenner one, but she's got the rubbery skirt pieces.
Yeah, that's still one that eludes me. That's the Power of the Force one. That's one I definitely need to get a hold of. If the prices have shot up on those a little bit since the whole, getting rid of the slave name for Slave Leia, and that doesn't sound like Hasbro's ever going to do that iteration of Leia again. So I mean, we'll see. But,
yeah,
that's one I'd like to get hold of. So that's actually a really cool, the Stan Solo Slave Leia is real. That's a really nice looking figure. Is there anything in your collection that you consider to be slightly unusual or different or unique? I guess it is kind of unique.
Yeah, I've got a custom rocket firing Boba Fett that I bought from Pro Customs.
Oh, cool.
But I had to put the rocket away in a box of stuff because I kept shooting it out and it kept landing under something.
It's better just to put it away so you stop playing with it.
Yeah, I just put it in a box of like Star Wars stuff, little tiny box of Star Wars accessories.
Save the risk of losing it.
Yes.
Is there any item in your collection that you don't have that you'd love to have in your collection, like a whole Holy Grail? Is there another Holy Grail, given that Leia was pretty much a Holy Grail, but you've got it now, which would be next, if there's something you could have?
Well, let's see.
Show and tell. I love it.
This was a Target exclusive Boba Fett that I had to buy off of eBay since I didn't have any more. It sold out.
Yeah.
But
that's a nice one.
They made one like this that was the rocket firing one. That would be one I would want to get, but it's like thousands of dollars.
Is it really? Wow.
The rocket firing version of this that Hasbro came out with. Oh, do you have one? Okay, yeah, that is I think that's like thousands of dollars now.
Yeah, wow. Because I had a friend send this to me from New Zealand back in 2010, 2011. Because it did come out here in, I can't remember if it was a mail away in the US, but it was released here in Toys R Us at the time. And I remember finding one in a Toys R Us, but someone had ripped the bubble off of the card and tried to steal the figure out of it.
Oh no.
So because it was so damaged, I just left it. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna buy that. So I never got to see one until a buddy at the time in New Zealand, he said, oh, well, I've got an extra one, I'll send you one. And it's got the VC number, VCP03. It's got like a picture of the original Boba Fett. It's fucking...
Yeah, that's what they did with some of those. I think before it was vintage collection, it was the original trilogy collection, and then they called it the vintage collection, where they would show you the original Kenner action figures from the 80s, the 70s.
So the only real sort of little mark of damage I have up the top is just at the top there, and the little tag has started to come loose in there a little bit, but as soon as I keep it in the star case, it's held up pretty nicely. I would like to transfer it to acrylic. So
it's just a 5 points of articulation with the rocket firing feature. So it's pretty much. It's not.
It's pretty much it's pretty much like the retro figure, but before they started doing retro. But yeah, I still don't have the one that you just showed me, which is the sort of the more modern figure with the same color scheme.
Yeah, you have to look on eBay for it.
Yeah. It says that Kenner Deco Fett is so nice. Love the Marvel Comics one. Yeah, I still don't have either of those. I'd like to get them. We did have them in at work. But yeah, I just didn't pick them up at the time. I didn't think I'd necessarily need them, but now I see them, I'm like, oh, I want to have them. Here's a good question. Last one with the collecting. What is it about Star Wars memorabilia that you think is important to fans, or what is important to you about Star Wars collecting and having these collectibles?
It's just something that reminds me of my childhood, since it was a big part of my childhood.
Yeah, it's the nostalgia factor. Yeah, I think it's the same for most of us. I think, it keeps us feeling young, keeps us feeling, I don't know, that sense of sort of wonder and imagination. I think that's probably the most important thing. And, when it comes down to, every year having a birthday, like I just turned 36 in November, and
you're still young.
I know.
But just wait till you turn 39, you might start to get gray hairs.
Oh, don't worry. I've started getting grays, but I don't have any hair anymore, so I don't get to see them.
Well, I thought you still had like hair on the back of your head.
No, I'm nice and clean, okay. Chrome dome. I'm like Captain Phasma, shiny head.
So you just have it growing around here.
Just the beard, yeah. Get rid of all the top. I just shave that every couple of days.
So it won't grow, or you just shave it off?
No, it won't grow on the front of my head anymore. Damn genetics. But it's handy working in a hair salon where I can just get a haircut whenever I want. So holding a Hot Toys version of my favorite Star Wars figures growing up, legit the closest I have come to being a kid again in a long time. That's awesome.
Those look so lifelike, it's scary.
Oh, they're unbelievable, aren't they? Have you got any Hot Toys yourself?
No, because I think those are just a little bit too pricey for my taste.
Yeah.
I'm more old school, where I go.
Oh.
Webcam keeps falling over. I have to position it just right.
It's not entirely stable.
It's
like the asteroid.
Yes.
Oh, it appears Tim's microphone is not entirely stable.
Yeah, I'm just gonna hold on to it right now just to keep it up.
That's all right. We've got a couple more questions, so then we can wrap up, and I won't leave you holding the microphone all day. What are you looking forward to most in the future of Star Wars?
I don't really know. It's hard to say.
Yeah,
it's really hard to say what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
it seems like Hasbro is not doing that well right now.
Thanks, Ian. Appreciate you hanging out. Yeah, I don't know. Hasbro seem to be having up and downs. Like when they put product out that's really good, it is really, really good, and then they miss a few marks here and there, and it kind of sways your confidence in them a little bit. But I just got the I've recorded reviews for them. They'll be up this week, but I got the Jedi Knight Revan and HK-47 2-pack.
So are those expanded universe?
Yeah.
So Knights of the Old Republic?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I've recorded reviews on them. And the HK-47 is just a repack from 2008. So while it's an old figure, it was one that was quite difficult to get. It was a builder figure, so you had to buy a full wave, get all the parts, build them together, and it wasn't an easy one to do. So to be able to actually get that figure now after all these years, it's actually a very worthwhile release. And the card backs they come on are really, really nice. So I do have my reviews coming out of them next week. But yeah, and then there's other things, and it's kind of like, why are you doing that, Hasbro? Like, I don't know. It's funny. Sometimes they're just, the price points don't always match up. There's particularly here in Australia, we get some vintage figures that are 25 and some come out at 35, and it's like $35 for a vintage figure, like a vintage collection figure. Like that's It's a lot of money.
It's like $20 here to get a vintage collection figure brand new.
Yeah.
So it was like when I first started collecting physical media, that was about how much I would pay for a DVD. So
Yeah.
I don't mind so much, since when I wasn't collecting Star Wars toys, I was collecting DVDs and Blu-rays. So I was paying like $20 for a DVD. I stopped collecting physical media for a while. I go to toys. It's not that bad.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
there
Well,
have
I
been,
suppose when you put it into perspective, like, whereas, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago now, when Star Wars figures were here in Australia, they were, $15, sometimes $12.95. At the time in the US, they probably would have been $7 or $8.
yeah, they would have been. And I think a lot of those Power of the Force 2 figures are, it seems like you could get those for like maybe $5 to $10 now off of eBay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remember I was at Celebration both in Orlando and Chicago in 2017 and 19. And there were stalls there that had Power of the Force, just walls of them. And they're like, $3 each, $5 each, buy 5, get them for $20. And it's just like far out, It's like, I wish I'd loaded up while I was there, because they're just, it was a good steal then. But, just don't get them that cheap here. Unfortunately, we're at that era now where Star Wars is, in terms of, I guess, public perception, it's probably near its peak without having any cinematic releases. Like, it's as popular as it's probably ever been. Along with things like Marvel and, comic book movies and stuff like that. Star Wars is probably, merchandise wise, it's probably up there. So unfortunately, when it comes to the secondhand market, people see Star Wars and think, oh, this must be worth a lot of money, just because Star Wars has got that history behind it. Whereas not everything is worth as much as people think it is. So you can't go and get Power of the Force figures for $5 to $10 anymore. They're now $20, because people aren't willing to accept anything less than what they think it's worth. So it's a little bit of a tricky thing, but. Checking out some comments here. A comic shop near where family lives had a big $5 dig bin of old Power of the Force stuff, and water damaged Saga collection. Got some nice stuff out of there. Very nice.
Yeah, you're lucky. There's not really much in the way of comic book shops around here anymore.
No. So you're in Modesto, where George Lucas grew up. What's the nearest major city to Modesto? Would that be San Francisco?
Yeah, San Francisco is a 2-hour drive from here, like Sacramento.
Yeah, okay. Because I've driven from, when I was over there in 2017, I drove from San Francisco to Petaluma and then to Sacramento from there, which was that was a good time. I had a good time driving through the countryside there. That was nice. So, one more question.
Okay.
What does being a Star Wars fan mean to you? I assume it sort of comes back to, it's something that fuels your imagination, keeps you feeling, keeps you in touch with your childhood. And
it's something kind of retro, since I think George Lucas really wanted to make Flash Gordon and he couldn't get the rights, so he made Star Wars instead.
Yeah.
So that was something really retro from the mid to late 30s, early 40s. So
think of the world would be in if he did end up doing Flash Gordon instead, and would we be where we are today? Probably not. It would probably be a very different landscape in terms of cinema and pop culture, and just a testament to how much Star Wars really formed how we live today.
Yeah, well, it's really funny, since in Flash Gordon, both Flash Gordon and Luke Skywalker have blonde hair.
Hmm.
And then in the comic strip, Flash Gordon, both the Dale Arden, Flash's girlfriend, she's a brunette like Leia.
Yeah.
I think in some of the movies it was a blonde-haired actress, but then they went back to the comics, they made her a brunette.
Yeah, okay. I think I've only ever watched the Flash Gordon movie. I don't know much else about it.
Have you seen the 1980 movie?
Yeah, the one with the Queen. Queen did the soundtrack for. That's the only one I've seen.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I've seen parts of the old serialized.
Okay, yeah,
movies.
I haven't.
I have.
There's a lot of really old stuff like the old Flash Gordon. There was Buck Rogers and
yes,
that's sort of very early. John Carter of Mars. A lot of that sort of.
I've got the DVD set of the original Flash Gordon serial from the 30s. So
cool.
It's the one where Dale Arden is a blonde. So
yeah,
and she's more like, oh, help me, help me, help me, and screaming constantly. She's
classic damsel in distress of yesteryear.
It's just like Jane Fonda as Barbarella was pretty much the damsel in distress, but one that was constantly sleeping with everybody as soon as she gets rescued. She's all, oh, help me, help me, help me, help, help, help.
Very sort of stereotypical of the time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like Fay Ray and King Kong's just, oh, help, 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 help.
Yeah, we don't have that anymore. Kind of thankfully, but it's good to change things up from the classic. That was, I guess, Princess Leia was the one that kind of changed that a lot, wasn't it? Where she came in and she's just like, I don't need you two boneheads to save me. I'll get out of here.
Yeah, well, I think she's one of the first ones you see shooting at a stormtrooper.
Yeah, she's just all sorts of badass Princess Leia. Man, what a character! What a love Leia. But that brings us to the end of all the questions. Is there anything else you wanted to have a chat about while we're talking, or anything else you want to plug, promote? Anything you've got happening on your channel?
Well, I haven't been filming too much new stuff, but I do a chill stream live stream on Wednesday afternoons at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, which is 9 p.m. in the UK. I don't know what time that would be for you.
Yeah, I'd have to have a look.
I do chill stream live stream with Dave of Monkey Boy's Toys. He's also known as Monkey Boy, and then usually Nick of Action Popcast. He'll sometimes show up as a regular for panels, and then his podcasting partner Kim Gonick, she sometimes comes, and then I've got Lester San Jose the Skeptic Tanks, another American, and then I've got the YouTuber known as the Monkey. He's another American that joins us. So we just have fun. We just have fun talking TV, toys, and movies.
Like you said, chill stream, just chill out and chat.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, something.
We go for 1 to 3 hours, or 2 to 3 hours probably on a Wednesday.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. If anyone's interested, go. I'll put the links in the description to the video as soon as we're done live. I'll get the links to Tim's channel. I'll drop them in the description so you can pop back in half an hour and check out the video and go jump over to Tim's channel and subscribe if you're not already. And catch up with him and see what he gets up to over there. And yeah, you do a little bit on like social media or Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Yep.
As well as YouTube. So
Yeah.
I'm just about everywhere.
Yeah, cool. I'll chuck up a couple of links. See, 1 p.m., 5 a.m. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering. I think it's Johnny Sorensen. I think he's another toy collector that's in Australia.
Okay.
He would sometimes show up. I was wondering why his wife was always sleeping when the few times he did come in. I guess.
Do you know where in Australia he is?
I'm not sure where he is.
No. Probably, I don't know, the most dense populations or East Coast. So there's about, it's only an hour's difference between where I am and the East Coast. There's 3 hours I can't even remember. Time zone stuff messes me around. This is why it is a little bit of a tricky thing to navigate doing these live streams when I'm here in Australia talking to people like yourself in the US, people in the UK. There's big time zone differences, and it is tricky to navigate. But I'm glad we could definitely finally catch up and have this stream, Tim. It's been really good to talk to you and get to know you as a Star Wars fan and get to see some of your collectibles. And I don't know if you get a chance to shoot some video of your collection and put that up on your YouTube channel, people would love to see it. There was some.
Yeah, well, I'm not really an inbox collector, so eventually I think
neither am I.
Package.
Yeah.
I mean, in the 90s when they came out with the Star Trek: The Next Generation action figures from Playmates, those I kept in the package, but I probably could have taken them out because I found out I don't think the price on those really went up.
Yeah. But I'm the same. I keep some things in the packaging that I think look cool, and some maybe it holds a little bit of sentimental value. Something that I get a bit of a passion out of having it in the box. But yeah, how you see around my room, 99% of the stuff is all opened, posed toys to play with. That's what it's. I have fun with my collection. That's what it is.
So, do you live by yourself or
just with my girlfriend and our cat?
Oh yeah, I wish we had cats, but I'm a grown up who lives with his mother, who's a widow. We have a housemate that rents a room from us. My dad died in back 2015, so it's just the three of us, and we had a couple of cats. We were taking care of my dad's cat, and then our housemate had a cat, but her cat died at old age, and then my dad's cat just got really sickly and old and died, and then we get new neighbors. A young couple moves in next door, and these cats appear out of nowhere in my backyard, and I find out they belong to the neighbors. They were living in an apartment with their cats, and their cats were just cooped up in there, so they let their cats out to get some exercise. They wandered into my backyard.
Yeah.
It's the first time I had ever seen any cats in my backyard since we hadn't had any more cats.
Oh, as long as they're friendly, that's the main thing. They're not hurting anyone.
One of them is friendly, but he doesn't seem to. He seems to get too scared of me. But then the other one is really afraid of people.
Yeah. Okay. Cats can be a little bit like that sometimes. They're one extreme or the other. They can be really friendly, and like my cat was my girlfriend's cat before I came along. But the cat has chosen me as a favorite human. So it's she's a little sweetheart, and she loves me. And but yeah, then other cats were just like, no, I'd prefer not to deal with you. I'll go and do something else. But that's cats for you. They're interesting little animals, temperamental ones. But anyway, Tim, I appreciate you coming and hanging out. I appreciate everyone coming and hanging out in the chat today, tonight, this afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I hope you've enjoyed hanging out with me and Tim. It's been a good chat. I've got another stream coming up. I think next weekend. It'll be Sunday night my time. So I'm just gonna, while I'm here, and I can.
So is it another fan chat, or is it just?
Yeah, another fan chat. So that will be happening at. It'll be 8 p.m. my time. It'll be a bit early for you. It'll be 1:30 a.m. for you. So you might. Yeah, I don't expect you to stay up and watch that one.
Yeah.
But I've got a few coming up in the next few weeks. So I think I've got one every week for the next 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. So it's going to be good fun.
Seemed like you were pretty well booked.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going to start in the next week or two. Start looking out for the next batch of people. I'm going to try and do 2 a month, rather than try and squeeze them in every weekend. My cat Ben, named after Ben Solomon Breaking Benjamin, continues to be an absolute menace and both my best friend and worst enemy. That sounds like a cat.
Yeah, my friend Dave, Monkey Boys Toys, he has a cat named Ewok.
That's a great name.
Well, the cat's mother's name was Ewok, so he named it after the cat's mother.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Ewok. All right, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll catch up with you. I'll be next week. And again, go subscribe to Tim. Follow him on social media and all that. And we'll see you next time. May the force be with you always.